home.
If you want to get credit,
Welcome to Housing TV Africa, and this is the program Inside the Real Estate. Today we have a very interesting topic to discuss. I won't be doing this alone. I have a guest with me. We'll be looking at land ownership and property rights. As usual, we have an expert in the built environment, a well-known face, an in-house well-known face is always with us, having this very interesting and very serious issues concerning land ownership. Our guest is the immediate past coordinator, Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, in person of Town Planner Umar Shuaib. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
As always, we're always excited to have you.
So
today's topic is really a very catchy one. As you know, land ownership. Land ownership is one issue in Nigeria presently now that is facing a lot of challenges. And my first question is, how can one get land allocation for mass housing development, especially in the FCT? Let's start with the FCT first.
thank you very much. As you see, let me just talk just briefly on the land ownership matter.
Okay.
In Nigeria here, we don't own land. What we have is lease ownership. By that lease ownership, any land allocation is tied to tenure. Almost all our land allocations, almost all, I can say all, the highest you can have the tenure will be 99 years. The reason why it is pegged at 99 years is whatever development that you want to put on that land that you have been allocated, you are going to reap whatever benefits are there on that land between first year and 99 years. How many people can live up to that 99 years? Very, very few. So that is why it is tied to 99 years. And it can change hands to heirs when the person that has been allocated the land is no more. But let everybody knows that from that time up to 99 years, any government in power will require that land back, and it has to be reallocated if it is deemed fit to be reallocated. So that is why they are tied to this tenure. Now, there is nowhere, so long as the government is involved, that a land could be developed without a title. That is what we call land ownership. Yes, you own the land to develop according to the requirements, the specifications of all the allocations. There is no way a land can be allocated without being tied to the use. You allocated this land for agricultural purpose. It has to be used for agricultural purpose. If it is for housing development, it has to be housing development. If it is for commercial, industrial, recreational, you can call them whatever you want to call them, so long as it has been allocated. It must be tied to use. And all these ones, even if it is residential, there are further requirements for the development of residential. Is it low density, is it medium, or is it high density? So, as far as I can say on this, this is the bit I can say. Then, to your specific question on mass housing. Because land allocation is tied to tenure and land use, if you hear the name housing, means it is a residential area. So if you are located a land for mass housing, what you are going to develop there, it should be residential. But there are requirements on the allocations of land for mass housing. The reason why it is known as mass housing, not to say mass as a poor person.
Yes, of course.
That's how people always understand
Yes.
it. But because the number of the houses to develop are many.
Many.
And you need to have a very big land in order to develop many residential houses. What is happening today is we have so many people that do not have allocation. Sorry, do not have accommodation. The deficit in housing is in millions.
Yes.
So what the government feels is, let us have those people that can develop these houses, so many, so that so many people can be accommodated. And that is why the lands are big. It has to be a housing estate, because any development of houses in multiple, it has to be a housing estate. So there are categories of housing estates. There are housing estates within urban, and there are also housing estates within rural lands. Those housing estates, the normal housing estates that are within the urban lands, have the maximum that can be allowed, that can be given the normal title of land allocation, of a right of occupancy, in which you can proceed and get certificate of occupancy on the allocated land. It has its limit. So, but if it is a housing, mass housing,
Yes.
it is beyond that limit that is allowed for allocation of housing estate, the normal housing estate we know in urban areas. And that is why the category of mass housing in urban areas, like in the FCT here, one cannot be given more than 10 hectares. 10 hectares is a very big land. In a rural area, the maximum is 20 hectares.
Okay, so is it because the rural area is more should have this mass housing?
No, because the rural area, you know, the competition on land is not much in rural area. There are much land in the rural area in which you can some sort of but in urban area the available lands are limited. Like you see now in Abuja, phase 1, phase 2, 3. Phase 4 has been exhausted.
Yes.
Why can you have land even to allocate in phase 4, 1 to 4? And that is why we started planning for phase 5 of the city development.
Okay, so why do you think that the government will not use these rural areas to do this mass housing?
And that is why the mass housing now if it is in rural area, even over to 20. Well, of course, there are people that have been allocated mass housing in rural areas. That's why we cannot get. In any case, there are limitations.
Yes.
There are limitations. There are so many people that deal with land. You cannot somebody. But surprisingly, at times, because of the way things happens in Nigeria, there are so many violations of the regulations. Yes, and there are requirements, there are this and that. There is a policy that is guiding this. This part that you see allocations in hectares of more than that. That one is above normal. It's abnormal anyway. But according to the policy, that is what has been stated. And again, it is not an allocation, the normal allocation that you have that. No mass housing allocation has a title. What you have is letter of intent. They are giving the land to develop, not to sell. It is the houses that they are selling. If they develop the land and build their houses, they are selling the houses. Unfortunately, people will apply for mass housing development, for mass housing allocations, when they don't have the capacity to build houses. Again, further requirement is that you are supposed to develop the secondary infrastructure. The government will provide the primary infrastructure, that is the line, the road leading to the individual housing estate. Now, within the housing estate, the mass housing, the access roads into the individual houses, you are supposed to develop them. No, government will not go in and develop your infrastructure and provide the roads. According to the policy, it is you that are supposed to provide the secondary infrastructure within that estate.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they don't have the capacity. They don't have financial muscle even to build houses, talk less of providing the infrastructure. Yes, they apply and say that they can do it, and then the government allocates to them. After the allocation, they pass the land and start selling the land. It is an illegal act to sell a land within a mass housing allocation. That mass allocation doesn't have title. What is a letter of intent? I hope you understand what I'm trying to put across. Now, with that letter of intent, what is expected for the developer to do? When he develops the houses, he compiles the people that buy those houses from him and submit to the FCT administration. It is the owners of the houses that are going to be given the title to the houses so developed, not the person that has been allocated the land for mass housing. So according to the policy, it is the house owners that are given the certificate of occupancy for their houses. And before you can be given a certificate of your house within a mass housing estate, the developer must make sure that he has a building plan approval before he commences the development. This is part of the prerequisite for his off-takers, for the people that bought the houses from him.
Yeah.
So if you are buying a house that is developed by a mass housing developer, it is your right to require from him where the building plan approval before you commence building these houses. If he doesn't have, you are going to encounter problem by the time you go for the regularization. This aside, so many things happen that made the government to stop. Presently, the government has discontinued, it has stopped the mass housing. Even that letter of intent has been stopped because of the abuse. I told you earlier, they don't provide the secondary infrastructure. Number two, they sell the parcel of land, not the houses. Number three, there are so many conflicts of the same mass housing owners. They will sell the land, individual land, to so many people
at the same time.
Creating so many conflicts.
Yeah.
And then the people that have all these challenges, they run back to the government for the solution of that problem. And because of all these challenges, the government have stopped. I know, maybe subsequently they have, but according to my own knowledge, the government has stopped the mass housing allocation in FCT today. But what they are doing is, those housing estates, mass housing estates that have satisfied all these requirements, because there are some that have satisfied the requirement. Yes, they have got to mass housing allocations of that letter of intent, and they have made their design, and they submitted to development control. Development control went, inspected, vetted, and gave them the building plan approval. You see, they have satisfied that. And then after building, some of them will start selling to off-takers before they complete the development. Yes, so long as there are agreements between them and the off-takers. Some of them will not have the money completed. Okay, please start paying. If the price of a unit is 50 million, you can start giving initially 10 million. And then you are going to complete this amount of money between this and that. And before that time, before 1 year, 2 years or so, I will be able to deliver your houses. You see, they are selling the house, not the land.
Yes.
And at the end of it all, when they have finished everything, they compile the names of the houses owners and send to FCT themselves. I know there are so many of them now, those that have satisfied this requirement, that they have been processed. For the owners of these houses to be given their certificate of occupancies.
Okay.
They are there. We have the rightful people, those people that have abided by the requirement, and we have those that are not abiding by the requirement.
Thank you so much, Brother Umar. I'm going to come back to your answer to that question, but I want us to look at what do you think about the Land Use Act? Do you think it's one of the problems that is hindering individuals from having access to lands?
The issue of Land Use Act, there wouldn't be, there's no way you can administer land without a policy.
Of course.
And that Land Use Act is a policy. That policy was made, the act was made in 1977. Between 1977 and now, a lot of water has gone down the bridge. Yes, so many people are calling for a review of the act, but up to now it has not yet been actualized. Yeah, there are some of these provisions in the Land Use Act that require review. That is not a type of, I'm not prepared for that because there are so many of them.
Yes.
I'm not prepared for that. Otherwise, I would have told you this and what aspect that need to be reviewed. However, we must have an act, a law governing the use of land in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Samplana Omar. So, one of the issues and challenges of Nigerian land policy includes the excessive bureaucracy in obtaining consents and approval for land transactions and issuance of certificates, which you just made mention of, of the occupancy, underdeveloped or bare land not having commercial value. And you stated it clearly that these lands have, they are already out there for different purposes. Now, this brings me to my next question. What are those certain things that developers must ask for before buying that land for real estate development?
You see, there are so many ways somebody can acquire a land, but mostly now, because it is difficult, because mostly it is the connection that you have that will give you a land now. There are so many people that have the capacity to build, but they have their money to buy. So they are buying the title, not the land.
Not the land itself.
If the title says the tenure is between now and 99 years, don't forget that allocation has started in the FCT since the early 80s. From that time, today, we are counting about 30 to 40 years. Some 30, in fact, if somebody will have an allocation with a certificate that is dated 1985, 1984, 1985, 1985 to today, we are talking of 39 years. So what is left in the tenure is how many years? It's just 61 years. So whatever you buy, you should have it at the back of mind that this is the length of the tenure that is left. In any case, by the time anybody that has the allocation didn't fit to say, okay, he's selling the land, he's selling his interest. It is his interest that is selling. You bought the interest. But go and conduct a search before you buy to make sure that there is no double allocation, because there are so many lands because of things that will come later. Yes, the location is there, but by omission or commission, that same land will have different numbers.
Hmm.
If it is plot number 20, the same land, the same size, by omission or commission, things are happening. The same land will be numbered plot number 25, not 20. The same land could be numbered plot number 205, the same land. And because the numbers are different, if you go to the system, yes, this plot number is not allocated to anybody. But when you go to the piece of land on the ground, that's why you discover there are conflicts. So the research should be thorough to make sure there is no double allocation. There will not be double allocation on the plot numbers, but there will be double allocation on the location. That search is very necessary. So at the end of it all, it's only one person that's going to develop.
Yes.
It could be you, it could be your opponent. So if you go for search and you find out that there is no challenge, you can buy. Go ahead. But if you if you want to get the allocation, you can go, wait and get the allocation. You can be lucky to get the allocation. And then at that time, by the time you have a clean allocation, you commence work. But you must not commence work. There is no way you commence work without an allocation. And I have explained much earlier the issue of cloning,
yes,
the issue of people that will go and then it's a document that is counterfeited on the same land, the same name, but you don't know that the person that has sold to you is the person that has counterfeited a document from somebody's allocation. So that search is very, very necessary.
Town Planner Umar, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we have some other few things to discuss before we wrap up.
Thank you.
Let's go on a quick break. Viewers, we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the program Inside the Real Estate and Housing TV Africa. Still in the studio with my guest, Town Planner Umar Shuaib, who happens to be the immediate past coordinator, Abuja Metropolitan Management Council. So, Town Planner Umar, let's look at the factors that makes title to land uncertain and acquisition. These are challenges in Nigeria. What do you have to say about that?
Of course, all those ones are that, the major problems, land racketeering, all lands, so long as they are allocated with certificate, they are genuine. If they have their certificates. In states, the person that has the power to sign certificate of occupancy is the governor. The FCT here is the FCT minister. So you first have right of occupancy. That's all the procedure. You have the right of occupancy. After that occupancy is given to you, they are going to give you the bill for the payment of certificate of occupancy, where you pay the premium and all other charges, land charges, because every year you are supposed to be paying the ground rent. So that failure to pay the ground rent is also a problem, because there are conditions attached to your allocation. Make sure you satisfy the conditions. People, anytime they are given an allocation, they don't read the conditions on the CFO. It is binding. If you did not abide by them, it may lead to you to lose your title. Abide by all these conditions. If you are developing after you have got the title, make sure you have obtained building plan approval. You cannot develop without building approval. The government, the regulatory body, has the power to pull down your structure if you put a development where it is not supposed to be there. You develop a hotel where it's supposed to have residential houses. You know, the activities are different.
Yes.
So many Swiss hotels play music in the middle of the night and what have you. Distract people. Finish your daily work. You want to go home and rest. The sound from your neighbor is preventing you from resting. Or actually you have built a residential house, but you converted it into a guest house. In that guest house, you have so many guests. Oh, these days, we have unwanted guests.
Of course.
We have people that have questionable character.
Yes.
They mean evil. They mean bad to society. They only need a place to rest before they commit their atrocities in the night.
Yes.
You may not even know that somebody has lodged just in your neighbor's guest house. And that's why we don't allow anybody to use a development that is not supposed to be used for that use. If it is a residential house, let it be street for that, not to be converted for a guest house. That conversion to a hotel or to a guest house, it is making that development to be liable for removal. So far, this is what I can say.
Thank you so much, Santana Umar Shuaibu. I know we have taken a lot of your time and you don't have enough, but we're still going to bring you because this land ownership and property rights is really a broad topic, and I hope we're going to do this again. Thank you so much for stopping by. We've come to the end of the program, Inside the Real Estate. Thank you so much for watching. You can watch this episode and subsequent episode by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Housing TV Africa. And don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Housing TV Africa. And you can download Housing TV Africa mobile app on Google Play Store and Apple Store to stay connected. I am Yumuna Babudu. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.